start. I think that's, the people that, as I said Monday, and I hate to be repetitive, but Pettine, people have been calling for an opportunity to see Johnny. We didn't know what he could do. Well, Pettine finally had that opportunity. He did not expect to win the game. We were down 20-3 midway through the fourth quarter when he put him in, 8 minutes to go or whatever. And Johnny complicated everything for him by driving the team for a touchdown. And that's all that the Johnny faction needed to see. They completely have already forgotten that he took a snap off of his hip and threw gave up the ball in what should have been a Buffalo touchdown, in his very next series. They have no recollection of that whatsoever. All they remember is that he scrambled 10 yards for a touchdown. The first drive that he had the ball and made a couple of nice throws, get him down the field. So no, to answer your question is worse. It would be a worse record, or at the very least the same. But I don't think they would be above 500 if they had started Manziel all season. And Manziel, really, frankly, has been the first to admit that he said it would have been a whole lot different if I'd been asked to do the same thing in week 3 instead of in week 13 or whatever it is. He knows that having sat and watched and learned and taken notes and, worn the baseball cap has been good for him as the season has gone along, that it would not have been as easy, or we would not have felt as comfortable had he been pressed into service in, as he used, I believe, week 3 as his example, let alone week 1. Right. So, no, I think they went with the guy. And the other thing is, did some people really think that this is an anti-Johnny conspiracy, that Mike Pettine and his coaching staff gets up in the morning and, what can we do to keep our boot on the neck of Johnny Manziel this week?
First-round draft pick. To hold back their own first-round draft pick. You know what I mean?
Right. And that they don't have winning games as their number one priority. They somehow are failing to discern what the astute fan in the stands or in his family room can clearly see, and that is that Johnny's the better player, gives us a better chance. I mean, at some point in time, you have to, and you make the point regularly, Jared, about, these fans they're so used to, 13-3 NFL seasons around here that they just can't abide being 7-5 going into the 13th game of the season. So it is ridiculous, and it is ridiculous for them to assume that they know better than the front office and the coaching staff about who ought to be playing. But like you, I'm the same as you. Neither of us were Johnny guys. We didn't want to see the circus come to town by drafting Johnny, but we did it. And as soon as Johnny is named the starter, he's our guy, man. He puts on the orange helmet. He's the guy that we're behind 100%. We'll see what happens Sunday. Like you say, it's going to work itself out rather neatly. At about 4:00 on Sunday afternoon, we're gonna have a good idea what's going on going forward. But listen, the interesting to me is this dynamic of the factions in town, which I don't think we've ever seen before. Mike did a nice job of pointing that out.
You're right, though. I mean, McCoy, Whedon, Quinn, Anderson, none of those were just BS training camp discussions and arguments throughout the season. This is, I've never seen anything like this either as far as the divisiveness on this. It will answer itself. And I'm with you. And I'm telling you guys, and you know what? I don't even need to say this for the regulars, but for those of you that may be listening for the first week or first time or whatever, brother, if the Browns lose this weekend, and I don't care how they, if they lose by 1 point, if they lose by 30 points, I'm not even talking about that. But if the Browns lose this weekend and this thing is done as far as being competitive this season for a playoff spot, I've said it since training camp, that's when your focus turns. And, brother, if that's the case, not only, I expect Brian Hoyer to do the same thing. If the Browns lose and this thing, I guess this could go over one more week if every team in the division lost and the situation stayed the same in the division. But that being said, other than the minute the competitiveness is over, whether it's this Monday, next Monday, whether it's the last Monday of the season, whatever it is, at that point, all gears, you shift them. It's time to see what we've got. And I'll be all about, hey, I don't know if he's the best quarterback, but we need to see what the hell he's got because we need to know, and I want to know. want to see Johnny. I'm curious as hell to see what he can do, just like anybody else. I want to see him go out there and show the development or lack of or whatever. Give us a chance to see what he's got. That's fine. When that day comes, let's do it and let's see what happens. I'm not gonna be jumping up and down and going, yay, I love Johnny football. Go play some ball. But until then, let it play itself out. And I'm just, that's me. That's where I'm at. But I'll make it very clear. It's not like you said, the day they drafted Manziel, man, you don't spend the next 6 months going, well, that was the biggest mistake ever. You go, I think that was a mistake. That being said, it's done, so we have to see what happens with it. If I was the Cavs, I wouldn't have necessarily brought LeBron James back, but he's here, and life moves on, and we'll go with it. And, everybody's got their own. Yeah, and
the other thing, too, Jerry, is, keep in mind that quarterback is one out of 22 or 24 positions on the team. And
that's it.
Even those of us that say, okay, maybe I'm okay with the front office saying that Brian Hoyer gives us the best chance to win this Sunday, I'm still not so blinded to the fact that even that chance, frankly, in my opinion, is pretty small. Because, take every injury that we've had throughout the year, and now you can pile Gary Barnidge and Miles Austin on top of that.
And the Crow.
And the
Crow. Did you hear about that?
And Isaiah Crowell. Yeah. Oh. And just say this team is too undermanned and too thin and not talented enough to make the playoffs, and probably not to beat a pretty solid Indianapolis Colts team this Sunday. And so it's not like the people that and I'm one of them, that are okay with the decision to go ahead and start Brian Hoyer this Sunday are not clear-eyed about the chances of us winning overall as a team. I still think it's pretty slim.
You got to beat the Colts.
Got to beat the Colts. It's going to take 22 or 32 guys to make that happen. And whether it's Hoyer or Manziel, frankly, I think it's a tough call.
Dan, people forget that, though. Forget the quarterback. I was telling a buddy of mine last night, I said, I got some fans who act like the Browns are wasting the 85 Bears defense this season here with the offense. I'm like, hey, the defense didn't show up until halfway through the season. So let's not, now they've had a good last couple of weeks and it hasn't been rewarded, but the first few weeks you could go the opposite way when the offense was putting 30 points a game on the board and the defense couldn't stop anybody. And Joe Hayden went 3 weeks without covering anybody and all of that stuff. Like, I'm just saying, I had a buddy of mine and I'm like, listen, man, some of these guys are going, we're just wasting this effort. And I said, yes, the defense has gotten better and I like where they're heading, but let's not act like they've been the 85 Bears all season and we're letting them down every week and now the defense hates the offense, because there was an article in the PD yesterday that insinuated that the defense is getting worn down by the lack of offensive support. And I'm like, bro, it's been 3 or 4 weeks. You weren't supporting the offense in the first 6 weeks of the season. So how do you, and that's not true. That's media reporting and making stories where it's not there. But those fans that want to blame it all on the quarterback completely forget the other side of the ball. Like I said, Joe Hayden for 3 weeks playing like he, didn't want that $90-some million or whatever. And all of that, it's just what happens in a football season.
Point made about the defense. Very, very true. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, and this is just, and we won't harp too much longer on this Browns thing, but Pettine has admitted that, I believe, and just paraphrasing what he said earlier in the week, or maybe even before the game Sunday, that the conversations in the coaching room regarding the quarterback position have been getting a little bit more lively, I believe he said. Yeah. Sort of admitting that there were, the idea that, Hoyer is the man, and there was consensus in that room, maybe not so much consensus anymore. Have there been any indications who's on which side of that lively discussion? It occurs to me that quite possibly Kyle Shanahan might be in the Johnny camp. And I don't know, I have no reason other than pure speculation for saying that. But it seems to me that maybe, his whole thing is, mobile quarterback and play action and rolling out and throwing on the run, et cetera, that he thinks that maybe Shanahan is of the belief that, and he obviously is watching practice and all the reps, and maybe he's seen enough in practice to say, hey, maybe we do have a better chance with Johnny. But ultimately, this decision came down to Pettine, and Pettine went the other way. Is that plausible? I mean, do you think that, have you ever gotten any indications of who's on which side of that divide? Because clearly the local divide extends to the locker room and to the coaching staff, apparently.
Well, obviously, to me, you've got various issues because here's where it kills everybody. And this is maybe what we were talking about at the beginning with the never seen a delineation amongst the fan base like this. I think you could go within the organization as well because there's such a strong regard for Brian Hoyer within the organization that it makes they're doing things that no team does. Even the general manager who went out there and drafted a first-round quarterback is not forcing him to play, as neither is the owner. And so that's a weird dynamic because most of the time the guys want to see the guys that they draft play. And I'll give Farmer credit. He has allowed this coaching staff to sit both of his first-round draft picks, and they should because they're not better than the guys in front of them. But most front offices don't care about that. We drafted these cats in the first round, and they're going to play. I'm the general manager. I want to see my new toys go out there and play. So, but you got to think he's pulling for it, but regardless, and these stories are a trip because I saw some tweets this morning that Pettine wanted Hoyer and Haslam wanted Manziel, and Jimmy Haslam loves Brian Hoyer. He also is intrigued by Johnny Manziel and his style and marketability and all of that stuff too. But they all have high regard for Hoyer. You can say for whatever reason you want, they all have a very high regard for Hoyer, which is why this has gone the way it's gone as far as
the only thing
Logan's. I know that Dow Logan's has he is one of the voices very highly wanting Johnny to play. He wanted Johnny to play from the beginning. He wanted the kid, but then again, he was the guy that got the text about wrecking the league and all of that stuff too. I will say this: when you talked about what Pettine said with the voices getting more lively, he addressed that again today, but he did qualify that by saying the decision was unanimous when we got done, but the conversation today was definitely all over, or excuse me, when they made the conversation yesterday, everybody had opinions and there was talk of making a change, but at the end of the day, the agreement was consensus that Hoyer was the one to go with this week. So, and that those things are why I keep coming back to going, hey, guys that are on Team Johnny, they're not all just holding your guy back. There's clearly some reasons why a guy can't just go, hey, look, this guy's thrown 6 interceptions and blah, blah, and blah, blah, and this and that, because normally guys would go, yeah, you're right. There's reasons why the inevitable, if you would put it, has been delayed. And I got to tell you, I mean, Twitter is always an interesting place anyway, but man, so this many people, really that man, people want Mike Pettine fired for making what I think is making a responsible decision instead of one that may be better for his coaching career, because he gets a blank check if he signs or if he puts Manziel out there. The rest of the season doesn't count against him. Nobody's mad at him because it's all about next year. It's all about Johnny. To me, throwing Manziel out there was the cheap free pass for Mike Pettine to get through the rest of this season. What do you think?
Oh, I agree that would have been certainly he would have had his detractors because there is the Hoyer camp.
Yes,
and that faction would have been angry with him. So he was gonna have some people mad at him either way, no doubt. But what would be, I think, implausible is the idea. Let's just project a Browns loss on Sunday, and just say let's lose. It's going to be a pretty lame argument to make that Johnny would have won the game if he'd played.
Right.
And I don't care how the game goes, but it's going to be a pretty, weak plank to stand on for somebody to say, well, Manziel would have won that game. Well, that's going to be a pretty unsupportable argument with facts and anything real, because there's just no way to know that. And we saw him, like I said, almost gift wrap a touchdown for the Bills because he was confused on the snap count. He didn't handle it, and he went back and made a bad decision with the football, and probably should have been a Buffalo touchdown. But what a rookie quarterback gets you in the NFL, especially against a playoff contending team and a team like the Indy Colts. So I don't know. You'll hear it. I'm not saying you won't hear it on Sunday if the Browns lose, that Manziel would have won it. But it's a pretty thin read to go with.
You know what? I got to tell you, you just hit it on the head to wrap up the quarter.